you could know a lot. You can know every fact in the world, but it doesn't mean anything if you're not using that knowledge or if you don't truly know what that knowledge means. That's wisdom. If you don't have control of your emotions, you're not going to have control of your reality. Like, I'm telling you that right now. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are a subscriber and if you are new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Indy Einstein. Today we're doing a cute spiritual get ready with me. I'm going to show you guys how I did this look, and we're going to talk about some spiritual topics. So let's get into it. Okay, so skin is prepped and primed. I did my skincare routine and I also used my gua sha. I did this for about 15 minutes, and then my new face, I did this for 5 minutes, and then I also did a skin massage for about 20 minutes. You guys are probably wondering what the difference is, why I do all three. I don't always do all three every single day, but when I want a little extra this is for draining, lymphatic draining and sculpting, even though the original purpose of gua shaing isn't for lymphatic drainage. I do use it to guide me with lymphatic drainage, although you could just use your hands for that because lymphatic drainage doesn't need a big pressure, you know what I mean? But I do like to use this for just extra lymphatic drainage plus sculpting. And then I use this for toning the facial muscles. And then the face massage is for deeper lift to work with the fascia and things like that. So now we're gonna go into primer, and I'm gonna be using a lot of different mirrors. So I have a big mirror here. I'll be using my smaller mirror, and then I have a big mirror right in front of me. So to prime, I'm going to be using the Professional Super Setter. I like to go in with the setting spray first, and then I go in with the primer, wherever that is. It's okay here. So the Makeup Forever Pore Minimizing Primer. This is my first time using this primer. It's okay. I like Makeup Forever's primer, but I like the one that's in the clear case. It's the clear liquid, but this is cool too. I don't think this is the same one. I think the other one is mattifying. This is pore minimizing, but I like to spray setting spray first. And by the way, this isn't my everyday makeup routine. I'm going to just be doing a little extra for you guys. But to be honest, I don't wear makeup a lot. Most days I'm not wearing makeup. I'm home or just running errands or doing day-to-day things. I don't wear makeup. I only wear makeup when I'm traveling or going out, and I want to be a little bit more put together. And even then I'm doing something a little bit more natural. And it's crazy because I used to be a makeup artist. So this video is actually blending my old life with my new life. Inner child Indy is really happy right now to be doing a makeup tutorial because I always wanted to have a makeup channel. So this is really fun. Yeah, I used to be a makeup artist, not makeup artist. No, I was doing wedding makeup and prom makeup for people. And I used to do makeup for my mom before she would go out. So I was really into makeup, and I'm also an esthetician, or not anymore, but I used to be. I went to school for my esthetician's license. So we sprayed this. So now I like to let this sit in for 10 seconds, and then we're gonna go in with the pore minimizing primer. And I'm just gonna start talking about the topic. So somebody asked me to do more law of attraction. I need to learn to look at the camera. More law of attraction content. They really when I talked about it. So I actually naturally live on a Jupiter line. But in Amsterdam, I'm on my Jupiter MC line. And Jupiter is all about manifesting, spirituality, having faith, being lucky, being abundant, but also being optimistic, which is what law of attraction is really all about. The key to law of attraction is having strong belief in whatever it is that you're trying to manifest. That's the core of manifesting, and that is what Jupiter is all about. So I feel it just made sense to film this type of content while here. But something in particular that I want to talk about, but something in particular I want to talk about actually came to me yesterday that is really related to law of attraction that I haven't necessarily saw any content on, but to be honest, I don't watch a lot of spiritual content myself. Not because I'm not trying to learn more. It's just like the mission that I was sent here on. I'm supposed to get a lot of spiritual wisdom from dark inner wisdom from like past lifetimes and things like that versus reading a lot of books and watching a lot of videos. So whenever people tell me like or ask me like what spiritual books do you read or what spiritual people do you watch, and I say I don't read spiritual books or I don't like watch spiritual content, I wonder if people think I'm like being honest, because I am. But you know, some people are like, oh, she doesn't want to spread material. It's not that. It's just I came here in this lifetime to pull a lot of dark wisdom that isn't talked about a lot, that has been hidden or that has been scrapped. So we don't have access to it, especially for women. Like, I'm really here to help push the divine feminine consciousness and to bring back ancient feminine wisdom. And a lot of that comes from my maternal lineage, my inner wisdom, my past life wisdoms, my DNA, and things like that, right? So, say all that to say, I don't really know a lot about the law of attraction content that's out there, but from what I see on YouTube or TikTok or what people are talking about on social media, I haven't really seen this talked about, and it's exposure therapy. Okay, so I'm going in for my brows. I start off with my brows. For my brows, we are going to go in with the Anastasia brow gel or wax, and this is just to cause that lifting effect. But yeah, so exposure therapy. So yesterday, I went bike riding in Amsterdam. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I've been manifesting doing for a while now. And the reason for that is because Amsterdam, and this is going to look crazy for a little bit, but Amsterdam is known for biking. Like, a lot of people here to get around, they bike. So they're really hardcore with it. Like, biking in Amsterdam is so much more intense if you're not like a biker. And I know how to ride a bike, and I like to ride my bike when it's nice out here and there. But I haven't done it in about a year and some change, maybe even closer to 2 years. So I was intimidated and I was nervous because it's just so intense. Like, and I know that the bikers here like aren't really into beginner bikers because it's just such a system. And even my friend who I was with, who she lives in the Netherlands, not exactly Amsterdam, but she lives in the Netherlands, and she came to Amsterdam this weekend to hang out with me. She was saying even like in her part of the Netherlands, like it's not as intense as it is like in Amsterdam, and especially in like central part of Amsterdam. So that was a lot for me. I'm not gonna lie. I was very anxious, very stressed because, you know, it's just that's a lot. So I bring that up because that was me engaging in exposure therapy. Like, I could have backed out of it due to my fear and just like walked or Ubered or things like that, but I really wanted to experience it. Like, this is something that I really wanted to do. And exposure therapy is just all about throwing yourself into the things that you are afraid of, to show yourself that what you are afraid of isn't really something to be afraid of. It's an irrational fear, it's a made up fear, it's something that we have told ourselves is a fear or is something to fear, but really it's not. So if I like let my fear consume me and didn't allow myself to experience the joy of like crossing something off my bucket list and just experiencing Amsterdam through bike, like, which is like, when you travel, is so important to take in the culture of like where you're traveling. You know, you never want to be, especially as an American, you never want to be that traveler who just is going to different countries just to do American things. You can stay home if that's the case, right? So you want to indulge in the culture in some sort of way. So for me, I was like, I want to experience biking here and like how most of the locals get around. So I used the tram system. I didn't use any Ubers. I only used an Uber from the airport to my hotel, but that's only because it was like a 40-minute travel, and I'm not doing that with bags, just know. But I used a tram the entire time I've been here, and then we biked. So like imagine if I allowed my fear and anxiety of biking in like in a intimidating place for a beginner biker. Imagine if I allowed that to consume me. I wouldn't have experienced something that I've been wanting to do for a while just because of my fear. And then I would have went home and been disappointed. And who knows the next time I'm going to be in Amsterdam. So it was like not a waste of a trip, but it would have been almost a waste of a trip because one of the main things that I came to Amsterdam to do, I go home not doing because I'm afraid. That's not a way to live. Like fear could really take away from your life. Seriously. And fear is the opposite of belief, which is one of the core principles for law of attraction. You know what I mean? In order to manifest, you have to believe in something because when we manifest, our subconscious mind is a reflection of, or no, our external reality is a reflection of our internal reality or our subconscious mind, right? So in order to physically create what we want to experience, we have to feel it here or see it here or believe it here. That's why one of the biggest tools for manifesting is like subliminals because that goes straight to the subconscious mind. And that's why I also recommend using music for manifesting because that also goes right to the subconscious mind. But that's also why you have to be mindful of the music that you're constantly listening to because you could also manifest that reality. Okay, so I just brushed my brows up with the gel. What I do is I don't like to leave them up because I feel like that looks kind of like undone. So I brush them up and then I like slick down this part, doing this to create a lifted effect. Okay, and sometimes I just leave it like that and I don't fill it in, but we can fill it in a little bit just for the purpose of this video. So I'm going to be going in with the Anastasia Brow Wiz in the color Auburn because my brows are lighter right now due to my hair being slightly lighter. But yeah, the subconscious mind is the parts of the mind that we are touching or trying to touch when it comes to all of these like law of attraction hacks and tools. It's the subconscious mind that we're trying to convince in order to give us the reality that we want. Now, the subconscious mind is very easy to trick and to fool. So that could be really, really good because it allows us to manifest the things that we want. But that could also be very troublesome if you allow fear to take over because fear is a heavy vibration. And the subconscious mind likes to drown, meaning it tends to be more influenced by heavier emotions and vibrations. So that's why when it comes to manifesting and like subliminals and things like that, the subconscious mind likes repetition. It likes to be reassured, right? And repetition is a heavier vibration. It's not a quick thought. It's a constant thought that is being like programmed over and over and over again and it's just becoming like heavier. Imagine you have like a jar and one thought is like a drop of water. Okay, repetition is constantly filling that jar. And then a quick thought is just like one little drop that barely like fills the glass, right? So the things that you're going to manifest and experience are the things that are going to actually fill the glass. And that comes through repetition and also heavier emotions and feelings. Fear is a very heavy emotion, right? Because fear is something that takes over and is constantly trying to convince you to be afraid of something. Fear is the symptom of an imbalanced ego or an imbalanced solar plexus. So I took a dessert break, so let me jump back in. But and I have to like do my makeup. What am I doing? Okay, so fear. To outline my brows and to conceal later, I'm using Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer. Love this concealer so much. It's just so pigmented and I'm using the color Latte. I normally use the color Warm Sand. I think it works better with my skin tone, like my undertone. Latte is a little too yellow, I want to say. Fear is a symptom of an imbalanced ego or solar plexus. And fear is just over analyzing, overthinking, right? Telling ourselves that there is a problem or there is something to fear when there really isn't. And every emotion that we experience has a purpose, right? So the purpose of fear really is to get us to be mindful of what we're getting ourselves into, you know? Because imagine if we had no fear, we would walk into the lion's den, right? Or we would constantly touch a hot stove, and that's not smart. So we need fear as a survival instinct, but when it gets out of hand, which it does for a lot of humans because we are being programmed to be fearful, when it gets out of hand, I'm just going to use this to blend it out. When it gets out of hand, we start overthinking everything and questioning everything, right? Even things that we have been reassured about already, right? And normally when we question something too much, we start to see irrational flaws and issues in it, and it causes us to back away. If you live life like that, you will never be able to go after the things that you want. Fear is the opposite of faith and belief. And what did I say we need for manifesting? We need faith and belief. So if you are operating in fear, you will never be able to manifest the things that you want to manifest. So if I allowed my fear and anxiety of biking in Amsterdam specifically to manifest itself into my physical reality, I wouldn't have experienced biking, which actually ended up being really fun, despite the fact that I almost crashed 2 times and definitely embarrassed myself. Who cares, you know? A lot of people are afraid of doing things because we fear that we will embarrass ourselves or people will laugh at us. No one genuinely cares, okay? Think about the last time you saw somebody in public embarrass themselves. You would have to sit here and think about it for a good bit in order to come up with a story, because we're not just thinking about other people. We're thinking about ourselves, our issues, our problems, what we want to do tomorrow, what we want to eat in the next hour, right? So we think about ourselves in that way, and so do other people. No one is going to be sitting and thinking about that embarrassing thing that you did for the rest of their life, or even for the next hour after it happened. Like, trust me, sometimes you need to embarrass yourself to build character. That's exposure therapy. Exposure therapy is just throwing yourself out there and allowing yourself to experience things that you're normally afraid of, to show yourself that what you're afraid of isn't that bad. And once you train yourself, because everything in life is like a muscle, you have to train it, right? Like I said, the subconscious mind loves repetition. So you have to train something, you have to do something over and over and over again until you get it, until it becomes a habit. So once you start to allow yourself, I'm going to be going in with my NARS foundation. I love NARS. And this is the Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. I prefer the Velvet, I think it's a soft matte foundation by them, but I like this one too, and I'm in the shade Macau. And sometimes I go back and forth between using a beauty blender for my foundation and concealer, or just like some sort of brush, and I go back and forth just depending on the vibe. So I'm going to actually use a brush. I did apply it to my beauty blender. I'm just going to put that all over my face. But yeah, the subconscious mind likes to be convinced, whether it's fear convincing it or faith convincing it. So you have to kill fear by facing fear. You have to face your fears just to show you that your fears are nothing to be afraid of, so that you can go after all of the things that you want to go after. Remember when we were kids and we were afraid of the monster in our closet or the monster under our bed, right? That isn't even real. We just created a monster in our imagination due to the fear of the fear of the darkness or fear of the unknown. right? We created monsters in our head. And then once we faced that fear and actually went into the closet at night, or actually looked under the bed and saw that there was absolutely nothing, and realized after so many years of sleeping in our room by ourselves, we didn't get eaten by a monster, we realized that, oh, there was nothing to be afraid of. Like, that was just my mind playing tricks on me, right? They want our minds to play tricks on us, right? They want us to be afraid of certain things so that they can have more access to it than we can. So what you need to do is you need to face your fears. And one of my favorite ways of facing my fears is exposure therapy. Just throwing myself out there, solo traveling, going to the movies by yourself, going out to eat by yourself, doing the things that you have convinced yourself that you can't do due to nothing but fear. How can you judge something you haven't done yet? Right? Imagine if I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to go biking in Amsterdam because it's going to be a disaster. How can I judge something that isn't real? Like, I didn't do it yet, so how can I judge that? That's irrational, right? We're constantly trying to rationalize something that is irrational. So I really want you guys to start putting yourself out there more and to really just start showing yourself that the things that you fear aren't genuine fears. And if you find that you're somebody who you like suffer with like fear and things like that, look into your solar plexus. You more than likely have a weak solar plexus or an overactive solar plexus, because the solar plexus is like the conscious mind, and the conscious mind is the ego. And like I said, the ego is just trying to convince us of something, or the ego is trying to get us to analyze something. Now, when that's done in excess, we're over analyzing. So you might want to look into, like, you just want to make sure that you don't have an overactive ego or solar plexus that is trying to convince you of things. Okay, so I'm going in with some concealer under my eyes to brighten and conceal. And then I'm going to go down the bridge of my nose, corners of my mouth, chin. And then I'm going to blend it in with a beauty blender, but I didn't damp this. I just have it dry. But yeah, Jupiter and Gemini. Jupiter just went into Gemini, I think, the end of May, right? Like the last week. I think it was the 26th was the exact date. But Jupiter and Gemini is going to be all about us experimenting, right? We're going to be doing a lot of experimenting with this Jupiter and Gemini. Gemini is a very experimental sign. Gemini is all about trying out new things to learn about these new things. And Jupiter is all about manifesting and optimism and faith. So Jupiter and Gemini is the perfect time to tap into exposure therapy, doing different things, experimenting with different things just to learn more about it, to see what you like and what you don't like. I know it looks weird on the camera, but we're going to tone it down a little bit. But to see what you like and what you don't like. Jupiter and Gemini is also going to be the perfect time for law of attraction and manifesting, because Jupiter, like I said, is all about manifesting, having faith, strengthening your beliefs. And Gemini is all about consciousness, your thoughts, how you speak not only to others, but to yourself, right? So Jupiter and Gemini is the perfect time to be very mindful of how you're talking to yourself. So I'm going in with this contour stick by Fenty Beauty. It's in the shade Espresso. Oh my God. That song by, what's her name? Sabrina Carpenter has a chokehold on me, like seriously. So of course this is called espresso. Is that a sink for anybody else? But yeah, espresso. This is the Fenty Beauty Match Stick, and I'm going to be contouring my nose with it and my eyes, and sometimes I do the sides, but I don't think we're going to do that today. But yeah, Jupiter and Gemini is going to be the time where we are, or we need to be very mindful of how we are talking to ourselves. So this is how I'm contouring my nose. I'm just going to write down this side. We need to be really, really, really mindful of how we are speaking to ourselves and the thoughts that we are feeding ourselves. But because of that, we also need to be very mindful at this time of the thoughts that we are consuming. You need to be really mindful of the information you're consuming at this time and the conversation that you're consuming at this time, the information that you're consuming at this time, because Jupiter doesn't like to be in Gemini. The reason why Jupiter doesn't like to be in Gemini is because obviously Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Gemini is the opposite of Sagittarius. Jupiter is all about evolved thought through experience. It's like wisdom. And Gemini is knowledge. And wisdom is superior to knowledge because knowledge is knowing a lot, taking in a lot of information. Wisdom is not only knowing, but applying that knowledge in your everyday life to improve your situation. You could know a lot, you could know every fact in the world, but it doesn't mean anything if you're not using that knowledge or if you don't truly know what that knowledge means. That's wisdom. So Gemini sometimes moves too quick. It's Mercury, it's ruled by Mercury, and it's an air sign. It's very swift energy. It moves very, 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 very quick, right? So Gemini, the downfall of Gemini sometimes can be it's just taking in so much information and moving so quick that you're not truly learning or applying. You're just grabbing and going. And Jupiter, at its downfall, especially when it's in a sign that it doesn't like to be in, like Gemini, Jupiter, the downfall of Jupiter or the shadow of Jupiter is excess, right? So Jupiter in Gemini is going to be a time of excess, taking in too much knowledge, okay? And we need to be really mindful of this at this time because this is a time where they're going to be throwing a lot of information at us to try to get us to be distracted by information, distracted by gossip, distracted by the media, taking in propaganda. So you need to be really mindful at this time not to, fall prey to these things. Okay, so let's set our makeup now. So I'm going to be going in with the Huda Beauty. This is in the shade Blondie. I'm going to set my face with this first, with this big fluffy brush. And then I'm going to bake underneath my eyes. Yes, I still bake in 2024. I'll never stop, honestly. But yeah, you need to be really, really mindful of the information you're taking in. It's going to be a lot of information being thrown at us at this time, especially with election season if you're in America coming up. A lot of distractions. We're going to be prone to distractions and information overload during Jupiter and Gemini. So you have to be really mindful of the things that you're taking in because the information that we take in eventually sinks into the subconscious mind. And that's how a lot of programming is done. It's through the subconscious mind, through information, through media, through music, especially through music. So just be mindful of who you're listening to, what you're listening to. Please take social media breaks, right? And information overload, going back to what we we're talking about with like fear and things like that, information overload is also a sign of an overactive throat chakra and solar plexus. Solar plexus is consciousness, so it's knowledge, and the throat chakra is information that you are receiving or giving out. So an overactive throat chakra can create a know-it-all, and an overactive solar plexus can create someone who's just taking in too much information and using it to like over rationalize everything. So we're going to be really prone to that. So I really want you guys to work on your solar plexus and your throat chakra, and make sure you're taking social media breaks and be mindful of the information, again, that's being fed to us at this time, because it's going to lead to people being more fearful and just feeling like they have to do too much. Sometimes I do the cheeks. We could do them today. Sometimes I just don't like to do the cheeks because I just feel like it just gives too much of a ghost look sometimes if I overdo the powder. Should we attempt to do eyeshadow while we wait for this to set? Normally when I wait for my makeup to set, I just like listen to music or something, but for the sake of the video, let's play around with some eyeshadow. So I do have this palette, as you can tell, it's barely touched because I don't wear eyeshadow anymore. But this is the Morphe Matte Essentials 9B palette. And if you're into color seasons and you are in autumn, especially like a true autumn or a soft autumn, I feel like you'll really like this palette. Honestly, any autumns. I think a deep autumn can even get something out of this. But I've been so into color seasons and like guessing everybody's color season. So I feel like it says a lot about a person. So I'm just going in with this color all over the lid. But yeah, going back to what we were talking about, Jupiter and Gemini, perfect time to get back into like a law of attraction techniques. Again, there's not much that you need to know about law of attraction and manifesting other than having a strong belief in all of these tools that are thrown at us. It's just to help us to increase our belief. But I do like the tools because I think the tools do really help us. So I think this is the perfect time for you to get into law of attraction tools and just like books and content and things like that. Don't ask me for suggestions because I don't have any as far as like books and stuff go. I'm gonna make more law of attraction content though. But yeah, you're like quantum jumping, your 55 by 5 method, you're scripting. This is the perfect time so that you can just sync your conscious mind with like good, positive thoughts. Make sure you're saying affirmations every morning. I would say affirmations every single morning, every single night, right as soon as you wake up, to program your belief for the day, and then right before you go to bed, so that your beliefs sink into your subconscious mind easier, because nighttime is the subconscious part of the day. Okay, so I just went in with some of this darker color in like the crease in the outer corners. Now we're gonna go with some mascara. This is the NARS Climax mascara. It's okay. I'm not like a mascara snob, but one of my favorite mascaras, I forget, is it the Maybelline one? The one that's like from the drugstore, it's pink and green. Love that mascara. But I'm wondering if we should do some lashes. These are like the cluster lashes where you use like this like brush on glue and then you just put it on with tweezers. I'm wondering if we should do that, but I really have been into no lashes, I'm not gonna lie. Even sometimes I don't do mascara. I just generally love the shape of my eyes. So I love the shape of my eyes, and I also have really small eyes. So stripped lashes tend to overpower my eyes. And sometimes even when I get lash extensions, it overpowers my eyes. So I stopped doing that and just started doing my own extensions just so I can control how much is going on. And I normally just focus it on the outer corners to lift the eye. But let's just do mascara today. I don't have my eyelash curler, so what we're gonna do, whenever I don't have my eyelash curler, I like to take like a piece of paper and put it behind my lashes like that, and then wiggle, right? Yesterday ended up being really, really fun for biking. We biked for about 6 hours, not 6 hours straight, but just as a mode of transportation. So we were out yesterday for about 6 hours and just going to different like vintage shops. We went out to eat, and then we went biking around the park while just talking and having great conversation, honestly. So I actually ended up having a great time, even though I was stressed. I'm not gonna lie. I was stressed. Like I came home or back to the hotel, and I just was like a little irritated because when I get stressed sometimes I get like not angry, but I do get a little agitated. And so because of that, I don't like to take that out on other people. So I get very quiet. So I just kind of was like a little annoyed yesterday, which is the whole process. But that's good. When you are doing exposure therapy and you feel like stress and anxiety start to come up, allow it to. We are constantly trying to like run away from our emotions because we live in a feminine society that tells us that emotional feeling and expression is weak or lame or not powerful, when our emotions are actually very powerful. And our emotions actually have a lot to do with manifesting. Manifesting and law of attraction operates on frequencies and vibrations, and emotions are frequencies. So when you're traveling to a different desire, you're traveling to a different frequency that has a certain vibration to that frequency. And emotions are frequencies that have a certain vibration to them, right? So if you're trying to manifest, let's say, a trip to Bali, for example, you want to think about how you, and I'll make another video on like manifesting with emotions, but you want to think about how you're going to feel. That's the quickest and strongest way to manifest, is with your feelings. So you want to think about how you're going to feel when you're in Bali, right? And that feeling is the vibrational essence of the frequency of you being in Bali, right? So what you're doing is you're traveling to Bali through your emotions. And the more you do that, it's eventually going to become a physical reality. But yeah, emotions are so powerful. Never allow somebody to make you feel like, emotions are something to be ashamed of, because it's not. I'm going to be brushing off the excess powder with this brush. This is a Real Techniques brush, seamless complexion. It's like flat. Never allow people to make you shy away from your emotions. I am a Capricorn moon. I had to learn how to embrace my emotions and how to feel without feeling ashamed, because I grew up in a household where we didn't feel. We didn't feel. Emotions weren't a thing. We didn't give hugs or kisses or say I love you. We didn't like to cry in front of each other, and if we did, it wasn't good. We just don't feel in my household. And still to this day, we've gotten a lot better with it as we all gotten older and are like evolving. Gotten a lot better with it. But we don't feel in my household. And if we did feel, it was anger. So I had to teach myself how to embrace emotions and emotional expression. And that's where the power lies, especially when it comes to hacking your reality and taking control of your reality. If you don't have control of your emotions, you're not going to have control of your reality. Like, I'm telling you that right now. But yeah, you want to allow yourself to feel these emotions that are coming up, because it's going to teach you a lot about why you're afraid of the things you're afraid of, where it's stemming from. But the feeling of that like deep or heavy emotion of like, for me yesterday, it was like agitation. Like I just felt really agitated and irritated. And it's like, who am I irritated at? Why am I irritated? Like there was nobody to be irritated at. So that just kind of told me that I was irritated with the fear that consumed me, or it didn't consume me because I actually did what I wanted to do, but the fear that tried to consume me, I was irritated with it. And you have to allow yourself to feel it so that you can purge and release that emotion, right? So don't try to like run away from the fear. Like, let's say you're doing something, right? Like, let's say you take my advice and you go out there, like maybe you take yourself on like a solo date. You go out to eat and you're out and you start to feel anxious or something. Don't like leave the restaurant or run away from that anxious feeling. Feel it. Sit through it to show yourself that, oh, I sat through this. It didn't kill me. I'm still alive and I did what I wanted to do and I feel good about it, right? So allow yourself to feel that fear or that anxiety. It's just going to be your ego, that like wounded ego, trying to convince you to like get up and leave. But once you sit through it, you pass the test. Okay, so I'm going in with some powder contour now to set the cream contour. So this is Fenty Beauty. What is this? Sunstalker. I think this is bronzer. This is the color Thick Mint. And I don't know if this is like a cool brown. I think it's more of a warm brown, but honestly, because of my color season, I'm autumn. And because of that, I just do better with like rich, like warm, reddish, golden undertones. So I like don't really like to contour with cool colors, although that's what they say you should do. But I don't mind the look of like a bronze contour versus like a cool contour. So I'm going in with this brush and just recontouring my nose to set it in. Going to go in with the poof that I use to bake underneath my eyes. I'm just gonna go in and kind of outline that contour a little bit just to like clean up the lines a little bit and sharpen them too. And now we're gonna do some blush. Okay, so I used to be like the blush girl. Like before blush was even a trend like it is now, I was wearing blush when I was like 12 years old. I was obsessed with blush. I was contouring with blush, bronzing with blush. Everything was blush, 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 blush. But recently, I haven't really been into blush lately. But I did bring with me on my trip, so I'm gonna use it. I believe this is Givenchy, the Prism Libre blush. Givenchy, I'm pretty sure. I forget. But I'm going to use that as like a powder blush. And I'm going to use a brush similar to the one that I use for my foundation. That is for blush. I'm just going to go in, tap off the excess. And if I want to create a lifted look, I do blush just here. But sometimes I like the sun-kissed look, so where I do like blush just a strip. So we're going to do that today, actually. Yeah, girlies, we are in Guilies. Guilies? Girlies and Guilies? Okay. We are conquering our fear. In 2024. And we are exposing ourselves to our fears and facing our fears and realizing that our fears, they aren't lions. We're realizing that our fears are not lions, they're not tigers, they're actually cute, cuddly cats who are hissing at you to try to appear mean when really they're just really cute. Okay? Our fear is only trying to protect us, but we live in a world where it really is dog eat dog, so we feel like we have to be constantly protecting ourselves. And because of that, our egos and our solar plexus is overactive and it's causing us to fear everything. And that's not a way to live. So we're going to get out of that. So I'm just going back in with this to like clean up the blush a little bit under my eyes to give that like cute sunburn look. Right. And now we're going to outline our lips. And this lip pencil is Sephora. It's this like red lip pencil. I forget the shade, but it's red, like a reddish pink. I'm really into outlining my lips with red instead of brown. So I don't overline anymore, to be honest. And sometimes I even used to like take away from my cupid bow and go over for like a pout, and I still do that from time to time, but I'm just going to be accentuating the cupid bow today. So to do that, I like to like draw an X. I'm going to blend this out. If you use a brush, I'm just going to use my fingers, honestly. You don't want to blend it out too much. just enough so it's not too harsh. Okay, so I'm going to be going in with my NARS matte lip pigment, the Power Matte lip pigment, and it's in the color Bad Guy, and it's just this like nudish pink color. And I like to use this with the red because it creates like the cutest contrast. So I just put like a little on. Looks wild, but it's gonna get better. So I put a little on and I just kind of like smear that out with my fingers to make it look a little bit more natural, more blended. And sometimes I like to go back in with the red if I feel like the lip has taken away from it. And to really tie this together, I'm gonna go in with the gloss. So I'm using the NYX Fat Oil Lip Drip. This is in the color Scrollin'. So let's use this. By the way, friends are so important because honestly, yesterday when I was going through like my whole like internal dilemma about like facing my fears of not embarrassing myself while I was biking in Amsterdam, my friend who I was with, her name is Jasmine. Love her already. Like we are starting our friendship. Well, we already started our friendship for the last few months, but it's like solidified now that we've met in person and we just really click. But the whole time that I was kind of like internally going through my whatever, I feel like she picked up on it and she was just really encouraging me. And I feel like we really need that. We need somebody who is going to encourage us during the times where we need it the most, to almost act as external validation and reassurance, to further program our mind to show us that, you know, what we're afraid of, we're not really afraid of. Because do you notice we always tend to listen to other people over ourselves sometimes? And that's why, like, other people around you, like who's around you, is really, really, really important when it also comes to manifesting things in your life, because the things that the people in your life say to you have a strong chokehold on what manifests. If somebody is doubting the things that you want, it eventually will catch up to you unless you have a really strong sense of self, which I'm a Leo, so I tend to have a strong sense of self. But I know a lot of people don't really have the best sense of self, and other people's comments can get in the way of what we're trying to achieve. And so it's so important to have like a support system, friends, family, lovers, I don't know, that support us as we were like going through this internal dialogue, right? So she was just so encouraging, and she literally was like, every time we stopped at like a new destination, she was like, you did that, right? And it just made me feel better, you know what I mean? So the people in your corner are really important, and I feel like it's going to be another huge theme of Jupiter and Gemini, especially while Pluto is in Aquarius. It's just realizing how those we communicate with, or our friend groups, those we socialize with, really do have a huge impact on our life and can really help us to manifest great things if we have great people around us. Okay, so let's set our makeup with the same setting spray that we used in the beginning. And there we go. Our makeup is all complete. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know this is like the first time I'm doing a video like this, so I have to get better at a few things, but we're going to keep moving and grooving. Exposure therapy, you know, doing more chit chats with you guys. And what I'm doing is I'm mixing like my inner child interest with my current interest, even though spirituality has always been a big thing for me as small as I can remember. I was into astrology at like 6 years old. People always think I'm like lying, like, oh yeah, you studied astrology when you were 6. But I did though. But anyway, I'm mixing like my love for like beauty and like girly things with spirituality. So let me know if you guys like this vibe. Especially because like I was really sent here to not only just like give wisdom to the collective, but especially to the divine feminine collective. So I feel like beauty is a way to like really merge those planes. So all finished. This is a very long video. I'm seeing that this has been going on for an hour. That's crazy. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys got something out of this video. And let me know if you guys want me to do more of this and what other content that you guys want. And what other law of attraction content do you guys want specifically? Okay, bye.